Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Good morning, everyone. Have you ever heard someone described as a woman of no importance? I have, and every time I hear it, it feels like a small betrayal against the essence of humanity itself. What does that phrase even mean? Who gets to decide whose life matters? Today, I want us to look at this phrase, flip it upside down, and dismantle the lie it tells. Together, let's explore why every woman and every person is inherently important. There is nothing more powerful than being truly seen. Think about the moments in your life when someone really looked at you, not just glanced your way, but saw you. Saw past the surface, past the roles you play, and into the heart of who you are. Those moments stay with us because they remind us of our humanity. Being seen tells us that we matter. For many women, invisibility is a reality that takes root over time. It's not that they disappear, it's that the world stops noticing them. The mother who sacrifices her ambitions for her children's future, the caregiver who puts everyone else first, the colleague who does the unglamorous work behind the scenes, they're there, quietly holding everything together, but their efforts go unnoticed, their value unacknowledged. This invisibility isn't always malicious sometimes, it's simply the result of how we've been conditioned to see worth. We celebrate the loud, the bold, the visible successes. But in doing so, we risk overlooking the quiet acts of resilience and love that sustain our communities and our lives. When we fail to notice, we send an unspoken message that their contributions, and by extension, their existence, don't matter. But here's the truth, every person has an innate need to be seen, to be validated. This isn't about seeking attention or recognition, it's about connection. When we take the time to notice someone, when we acknowledge their efforts or simply their presence, we remind them of their importance. We're saying, I see you, you matter. Visibility, in its most profound sense, is an act of love. It's choosing to look beyond our assumptions, beyond the labels society places on people, and recognizing their humanity. It's in the teacher who notices the quiet student struggling in the back of the classroom. It's in the friend who hears the pain in your voice even when you say you're fine. It's in the stranger who smiles at you on a tough day, reminding you that you're not alone. When we fail to see others, we rob them of their dignity. But when we choose to see them, something extraordinary happens. We create space for them to step into their worth. We give them permission to take up space in the world, to believe that they belong. Visibility isn't just a gift we give to others, it's a bridge to deeper relationships, to empathy, to understanding. So what would happen if we made it our mission to see each other? To really see each other? What if we looked beyond the roles people play and noticed the person behind them? A woman of no importance suddenly becomes a woman of extraordinary strength, compassion, and courage. And the truth is, she was that all along. All it took was someone willing to see it. We live in a world that seems obsessed with defining importance in narrow terms. We're told that to be important, we must achieve something extraordinary, make a big impact, or gain widespread recognition. Titles, accolades, and visibility are often the yardsticks used to measure someone's worth, but this narrow definition leaves so many people out of the equation. What about the quiet, everyday acts of kindness? What about the strength it takes just to keep going in the face of adversity? What about the importance of simply being there for someone when they need you most? When we talk about importance, it's easy to focus on the external markers. The CEO at the top of the corporate ladder is important. The celebrity whose face is on every magazine cover is important. The activist leading the charge for change is important. And yes, these people may be making a difference in significant ways, but importance isn't a zero-sum game. Recognizing someone's value doesn't diminish anyone else's. The problem arises when we forget to value the quieter forms of importance. It's the woman who wakes up every day, despite exhaustion, to care for her family, balancing a million small tasks that no one notices but that keep everything running. It's the friend who shows up time and time again, offering a shoulder to cry on and the kind of support that makes life bearable. It's the teacher who stays late to help a struggling student, or the healthcare worker who offers a smile to a scared patient. These aren't acts that make headlines, but they're acts that hold the fabric of our lives together. Redefining importance means shifting our focus from the grand to the everyday. It's about realizing that what we do behind closed doors often has as much value as what we do in the spotlight. It's about understanding that small, consistent acts of love, care, and kindness can create ripples that extend far beyond what we can see. Importance doesn't have to be loud sometimes. It's the quiet strength of someone who chooses to keep going, even when the odds are stacked against them. And let's not forget that importance isn't static, it changes based on context and perspective. The child who sees their parent cheering from the sidelines at a soccer game feels the importance of that moment deeply. The colleague who hears words of encouragement during a tough project will never forget the significance of that support. These moments matter, and they remind us that importance is deeply personal and situational. When we redefine importance, we also free ourselves from the impossible task of constantly proving our worth. We stop tying our value to what we accomplish and start recognizing that our worth is inherent. It's in our humanity, our ability to connect with others, and our willingness to show up as we are. This isn't about dismissing achievements or minimizing ambition. Those things have their place, but it's about expanding the definition of what it means to matter. It's about seeing the beauty and significance in the ordinary, understanding that even the smallest gestures can have a profound impact. So maybe importance isn't something we need to chase. Maybe it's something we've had all along. When we choose to see ourselves and others through this lens, we realize that every life holds a unique kind of value, and that's something worth celebrating. Shame is one of the most insidious forces we encounter in life. It doesn't shout or demand attention like anger or fear. Instead, it whispers. It plants seeds of doubt that take root deep within us, growing in silence and secrecy. Shame tells us we're not enough, not smart enough, not beautiful enough, not capable enough, not deserving enough. It's a voice that convinces us to hide parts of ourselves, to shrink, to stay quiet, and to avoid being seen. The power of shame lies in its ability to isolate. It makes us believe that our struggles, our mistakes, or even our very existence are flaws that set us apart from others. If they knew this about me, shame says, they wouldn't love me, they wouldn't respect me, they wouldn't stay. And so we carry shame silently, afraid to expose it to the light of day. But here's the truth: shame thrives in darkness. It gains strength from the walls we build to protect ourselves. The irony is that these walls don't protect us, they imprison us. They keep us from connection, from vulnerability, from the very relationships and experiences that can remind us we are worthy of love and belonging. For women, especially, shame can be a powerful silencer. Society often places impossible expectations on women to be perfect but humble, strong but nurturing, successful but selfless. When we inevitably fall short of these conflicting ideals, shame creeps in. It tells us we're failing, that we're not doing enough, that we'll never measure up. It convinces us to overcompensate, to work harder, to say yes when we want to say no, to apologize for taking up space. Shame doesn't just silence our voices, it silences our dreams. It keeps us from taking risks, from speaking up, from claiming our worth. It makes us afraid of judgment and rejection, so we play small, hoping to avoid being noticed. But in doing so, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to live fully and authentically. The antidote to shame is vulnerability. It's naming the thing we're most afraid to say out loud and sharing it with someone we trust. Vulnerability feels terrifying because shame convinces us it will lead to rejection. But more often than not, vulnerability creates connection. It allows us to see that we're not alone, that others have felt the same way, and that our worth isn't tied to our mistakes or shortcomings. When we speak our shame, we strip it of its power. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, the monsters in the shadows are revealed for what they really are: stories we've been telling ourselves, stories that aren't true. Naming shame doesn't make it disappear entirely, but it makes it manageable. It reminds us that we have a choice to listen to its voice or to challenge it with compassion and courage. This isn't an easy process. Shame is deeply ingrained, and it takes time to unlearn the narratives that have been fed to us. But every step we take toward vulnerability is a step toward freedom. It's a step toward freedom. It's a step toward reclaiming our voice, our worth, and our place in the world. When we break free from shame's grip, we open ourselves up to joy, to connection, and to the realization that we are enough just as we are. We start to see that our imperfections are not sources of shame, but proof of our humanity. And in that humanity lies our strength, our beauty, and our importance. So let's stop letting shame silence us. Let's name it, challenge it, and replace it with the truth that we are worthy, that we belong, and that we are never as alone as shame would have us believe. The ripple effect of one life is something truly extraordinary. It's the idea that even the smallest action, the quietest word, or the seemingly most insignificant gesture can create waves far beyond what we can see. Too often, we underestimate the power of our own lives. We tell ourselves that we're just one person, that what we do doesn't matter, that the impact we have is too small to make a difference. But life has a way of surprising us, of showing us that the smallest pebble tossed into a pond can create ripples that stretch to every shore. Think about the people who have impacted your life. It might not be the famous figures or the big dramatic moments that come to mind first. Instead, it's likely the teacher who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. It's the friend who showed up with a kind word when you were having a hard time. It's the stranger who smiled at you on a day when you felt invisible. These moments are small, almost imperceptible at the time, yet they have the power to shift the trajectory of a life. Now imagine the ripple effect of your own actions. Maybe you helped a coworker on a project, and that act of support gave them the confidence to try something new. Maybe you offered a word of encouragement to a child, and that word stayed with them, shaping how they see themselves. Maybe you volunteered your time for a cause, and the work you did inspired someone else to get involved. The thing is, you might never see the full extent of those ripples, but they're there, spreading outward in ways you can't predict. The ripple effect isn't just about the impact of big intentional acts, it's also about the unconscious influence we have on each other. Every interaction, no matter how brief, has the potential to leave a mark. The way we speak to others, the kindness we show, the patience we extend, all of it matters. It's in the way we choose to show up in the world, even when no one is watching. But it's not just the positive ripples we create, our choices can also create negative ripples. A harsh word spoken in frustration can linger in someone's mind far longer than we realize. A moment of neglect or indifference can leave someone feeling unseen or unvalued. That's not to say we need to be perfect, we're all human, and we all make mistakes. But understanding the ripple effect of our lives means recognizing the responsibility we carry to be mindful of how we treat others and how we navigate the world. At its core, the ripple effect is a reminder of our interconnectedness. None of us exist in isolation. Our lives are woven together in a vast, intricate web of relationships and experiences. What we do touches others, and what others do touches us. This interconnectedness is both humbling and empowering. It means that even when we feel small or powerless, we're still part of something bigger. Sometimes we feel discouraged because we think making a difference requires grand gestures or monumental change. But the truth is, lasting change often starts with one person, one action, one ripple. It's the nurse who offers comfort to a scared patient. It's the neighbor who checks in on someone living alone. It's the parent who teaches their child the value of kindness and respect. Over time, these small ripples can build into a wave of transformation. So the next time you question whether your life matters, remember this: the ripple effect of one life is infinite. You may never see the full impact of what you do, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. Your words, your actions, your presence, they all have the power to reach people in ways you might never imagine. And sometimes those ripples will come back to you in unexpected ways, reminding you that you're part of a greater whole. What you do matters. Who you are matters. And the ripples you create, whether intentional or not, are shaping the world around you every single day. That's the beauty of being human. Even the smallest act of love, kindness, or courage can create waves that change lives, including your own. Choosing worthiness is not something we're taught to do. From an early age, many of us are conditioned to believe that worthiness is something we have to earn. We think we need to check certain boxes, achieve specific goals, or meet someone else's standards to finally feel like we deserve love, respect, and belonging. The problem with this belief is that it puts worthiness just out of reach. Every time we get close, the goalposts move, and we find ourselves chasing it again, stuck in an endless cycle of striving and self-doubt. But here's the truth: worthiness isn't something you earn, it's something you choose. It's a decision to believe deep in your core that you are enough just as you are. without having to prove anything to anyone. This choice isn't always easy, especially in a world that constantly tells us we need to be more, do more, and achieve more to matter. Choosing worthiness means rejecting that narrative and embracing the radical idea that we are already complete. It starts with letting go of the myths we've been told about worthiness. For instance, the myth that our value is tied to our productivity. How often do we equate our self-worth with how much we've accomplished in a day? We feel good when we've checked all the boxes on our to-do list, but if we fall short, shame creeps in, whispering that we're lazy or unmotivated. But worthiness isn't about what you do, it's about who you are. Your value doesn't disappear on the days when you rest or struggle. Another myth is that worthiness comes from external validation. It's tempting to look to others for approval, thinking their opinions define our value. But the problem with external validation is that it's fleeting. What happens when the applause fades, when the compliments stop coming? If our worth is tied to others' perceptions, we'll always be at their mercy. Choosing worthiness means grounding our sense of value within ourselves, independent of anyone else's judgment. Choosing worthiness also means embracing imperfection. One of the biggest barriers to feeling worthy is the belief that we have to be perfect to deserve love and belonging. We think that if we can just fix this one thing about ourselves, lose the weight, get the promotion, repair the relationship, then we'll finally feel like we're enough. But perfection is an illusion, and chasing it only leads to exhaustion and self-criticism. True worthiness comes from accepting ourselves as we are, flaws and all. It's in those moments when we show up authentically with all our messiness and vulnerability that we realize we don't have to be perfect to be loved. Choosing worthiness is a daily practice. It's not a one-time decision, and it's not something you can check off a list. It's a commitment to show up for yourself, even when it's hard. It's looking in the mirror and speaking kindly to yourself instead of letting the inner critic take over. It's setting boundaries and saying no to things that drain you, even if it disappoints others. It's prioritizing your well-being, not because you've earned it, but because you deserve it. One of the most powerful aspects of choosing worthiness is the way it ripples outward. When we see ourselves as worthy, we give others permission to do the same. We model what it looks like to live authentically and unapologetically. We create space for others to embrace their imperfections and claim their own worth. And in doing so, we help build a world where worthiness isn't something we compete for, but something we all share. This isn't to say that choosing worthiness is easy. It's an act of courage, especially in a culture that profits from our insecurities. But every time you choose worthiness, you take a stand against those forces. You remind yourself and the world that your value isn't up for debate. You belong not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. So if you're waiting for someone to give you permission to feel worthy, let this be it. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect version of yourself, or the perfect circumstances. You are already enough, just as you are. And every time you choose to believe that, you take a step closer to the life you deserve, a life filled with love, joy, and the unshakable knowledge that you matter. So the next time you hear the phrase, a woman of no importance, I hope you remember this: there's no such thing. Every woman carries within her a story that's worthy of being told, a life that's worthy of being honored, and a heart that's worthy of being seen. Let's start seeing, honoring, and celebrating each other not for what we do, but for who we are. Thank you.